All right, looks like we are live. Let's go, I've been told. So perfect, let's get started then. Let me just switch around a little bit. I'll switch to, whoops, not this screen, this one. Okay, so we'll talk about Patternfly today. This is kind of a new topic to me. Recently, I wanted to start a new React project. So I've been doing more and more React for my front ends, and I had heard about that Patternfly framework. So it's a framework to build UIs, and I had to build a new project. So that was kind of a good excuse for me to actually to try something new in Chinese. So I was glad to just jump into it and give it a try. So I had heard about that Patternfly project, and I was really looking for a good reason to actually use it, and that was a great reason for me. So, I mean, of course, I could have used Bootstrap, just like everyone else, right? I'm pretty sure most of you have already used Bootstrap, if not using it on your day-to-day developer life right now. So this was kind of a good timing for me to explore something new and to build a new UI. So in this presentation, I'm going to show you a little bit about my experience, how I ended up using Patternfly. I'll show you a little bit of the basic principles behind Patternfly and where it comes from, where it originates from, and then I'll do some live coding. So basically, my goal is to build an entire React application from scratch with using Patternfly as a framework. So you can kind of see the basics and how to get started with the basic building blocks that are available to you with Patternfly. And then I'll come back to the presentation. I'll just compare a little bit with Bootstrap and give you a few more resources if you're interested. And throughout the chat, I will be monitoring the Q&A, so feel free to post any questions that you might have in there. I will be monitoring, or I'll just take some questions at the end as well. So feel free to put in those questions. So here's also a fun fact about Patternfly, which I did not know when I started, which is kind of funny. And I'm a little bit ashamed to say that. But that project was actually started by Red Hat. And I myself work at Red Hat. So it's only after I started using it that I've realized that it's one of our projects. So, but I'm going ahead of myself. So let me introduce myself. Hi, my name is Joel. Nice to meet you. I am based in Ottawa, Canada. It is beautiful out here today. It's minus 20 degrees Celsius, and the sun is out there, and it's absolutely beautiful. So hopefully it's a little bit warmer for you where you're at right now. I work as a developer advocate for the Red Hat OpenShift platform. So basically, OpenShift is Kubernetes distribution of Red Hat's distribution of Kubernetes. There you go, I got it. So if you're interested, feel free to take a look at that. And I love Twitter. So if you ever have any questions, any feedback, if you anything, if you ever want to get in touch with me, Twitter is always the best way. So you've got my Twitter handle somewhere over there. So Joel __. So there's 2 underscores there. That's like the worst Twitter handle ever. Yeah, Joel __ Laura is always the best way to get a hold of me. I'm always responding, and I like I said, I really love Twitter. So whenever I have Twitter notifications, I get really excited. I really love it. So feel free to reach out on Twitter if you ever have any questions, feedback, comment, or just about anything. So let's talk about our topic at hand. What is Patternfly exactly? So in order to understand what it is, we can take a look at their website and check out the definition. So basically what they say is that Patternfly is an open source design system created to enable consistency and usability across a wide range of applications and use cases. Patternfly provides clear standards, guidance, and tools that help designers and developers work together more efficiently and build better user experiences. So there's a few things that you can see here, but what is important is that it's not a UI framework per se. And I've just got a message. Let me check that out. Unfortunately, it's in Italian. So, oh, by the way, I don't speak Italian. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask them in English or French. I'm fine with French. So back to Patternfly. So it's a design system and not a UI framework, and that is one of the big differences. So basically, Patternfly is a framework that is based on UX research. So when there's a need for a new component, a request is sent to a design team, which does some research, and then they put out a design document. Then there's a CSS and HTML developer, one or many developers that will pick it up and create these CSS and HTML templates for the new widget. And they will put that into the Patternfly core library. Once it's there, it will be also migrated to all the various little projects, such as Angular, Patternfly Angular, or Patternfly React. So it'll be distributed across those afterwards. So really, it's all about providing standards and guidance, and it's all about integrating design with the developer work so that both of them can work together easily. So I believe there's a bunch of different tools for designers as well that will help you as a designer put up some sketches so that developers can build out of it. So as a designer, you're not designing something that will be too complex or a little bit outside of the regular patterns for software developers, and developers can really take that and really put it back into place and really map the application that the designers had in mind. So why should you use Patternfly? Well, it gives you less things to think about when you're building things, and that's very important. You want to be productive, you want to get coding, you don't want to start adjusting tiny little details all the time. You just want to build your application, right? So that's one of the big benefits. So it'll save you time and energy because it provides you with design examples and layouts and all the code to implement those solutions. So one of the main things that sets us apart from other libraries, it's the focus on design for IT enterprises as well. So it really creates some sort of a standard UI for all the projects. It is what is used in OpenShift. So if you're familiar with Red Hat OpenShift, the interface is built with React Patternfly. So you can see the look and feel, and it creates this sort of standard for IT applications. So you have all those basic building blocks, and you've got this standard behavior across all of the interfaces. And also, it's backed by a large and very friendly community, actually. So there's a nice Slack channel that is available. People will answer questions, and so there's this whole community around Patternfly, and people are called flyers. And it's definitely a nice community to be part of, and people are there to actually help you out. So people are actually, they want you to be successful. So that's also a nice reason to use it. If you want to learn a little bit more about Patternfly, there's a few training resources that you can look into. There's a bunch of Katacoda scenarios. Obviously, you can't click on this hyperlink. I will provide you with one link with all the hyperlinks at the end. So there's a bunch of Katacoda scenarios that you can use. There's also the Patternfly tutorial that is available on GitHub, and of course, right here, right now, right? That's why you're here today, I guess. So to learn about Patternfly. So I'll show you a little bit. Like I said, we'll build this application in just a few minutes. So the design guidelines, they define the foundational elements of the design system, like color, typography. So it has all the styles. So usage and behavior guidelines communicate standards and best practices for common design patterns, such as and things like navigation, dashboard, or forms. So UX writing content design the guidelines provide principles and best practices around writing for user experience along the general voice and style guidance, basically. So you have all of your styles are all defined, and it also explains how to use them. And finally, there's exactly why you should use them and in what cases and so on. So we'll actually see that as we build the application. So the design guideline, you can find it here on patternfly.org/v4/guidelines colors. Or colors is the first element, but you can see here how you have all the default colors, how they're specified. And you see how all the icons, how can you use icons. So there's all this information, all those design guidelines that are there for you. It helps you, like, here's how to do an alignment. And also you've got all the CSS classes that are available to you to edit those. When you want to lay out your application, you also have the layout section on the website, so layouts. And in here we can see here's a bullseye layout, so it'll be one small cell inside of the larger one. You've got the flex patterns, which you might be familiar with. There's gallery grids. Grids is very similar to Bootstrap, so if you're used to Bootstrap, you'll feel right at home here. So you can kind of create all of those different layouts. And when I said there's also the code that is included, you can see all of the code right here. So this is the exact code to reproduce this grid. So that can be very useful. And finally, build it your way. So take all of those little components that you want and just use them. They're like Lego blocks to build your UI. So you can just use a mix and match. If you want a modal, if you want some banners, and there's a bunch of them right here. If you want forms, there's a complete section on forms. How can you build them and so on? How to add the invalid fields. So you can see here, so it's all interactive as well, and you can see a bunch of different things. And once again, you've got all of the code that is provided with it. So very, very useful stuff right here. Very powerful, and it lets you build applications really, really fast. So if you want to see it in action, also there's a bunch of demos that are available, and that is what we'll use for our basic layout in just a few minutes. So you can see a bunch of examples like primary detail card view, so what a view looks like with a bunch of cards in it. And there's a bunch of other examples right here. Okay, so and there's a lot more stuff. There's all the CSS variables that are described on the website, all the utilities, stuff like aligning text. There's charts, tables. Wow, right? There's so many different things that are available to you as part of the website and as part of all the documentation and the design guidelines. All right, so I'll come back to this at the end. We'll talk about Patternfly vs Bootstrap. Let's just jump into some code and let's take a look at how it actually works. So I'll just need 1 second to get set up here. I've got, ouch, sorry about that. I've got this keyboard, which I won't need, and this mouse, or trackpad, which I won't need anymore. And I'll jump into my other laptop, and there it is. Okay, so let's remove this presentation. And as you can see, my presentation runs in React. So I was thinking of actually using Patternfly for that at some point. So let me just start here. What we'll do here is that we'll actually use create React app, and we'll create a new application here. So npx create React app, and we'll call it PF CodeGen. PF is typically the abbreviation used for anything Patternfly related. So PF CodeGen, that will download all the necessary libraries, of course, and we should be up and running in just a few seconds. And it's coming, almost there, almost there. All right, there it is. So PF CodeGen, and there we go. So let's open up VS Code. It's in here, so let me just pull this up for you. It's not upgrade right now, not a good time in the middle of a presentation, yeah. Okay, so the first thing that we'll need in order to start our application, we'll need a bunch of different libraries, so I'll just install them right away. So I'll need to do an npm install --save, of course. And we'll add a router, React router DOM. So we'll eventually add some navigation. So might as well add it right now. And I think that's the only external libraries that I'll be using. Apart from that, I'll just be using plain React. I won't go into Redux today. So let's install Patternfly. So npm install --save. Patternfly contains all the different repositories. We will need Patternfly, which is the core library, which will provide us with some CSS. And we'll also install Patternfly /React core. So this will provide us with the core React elements and components that we can use throughout the application. So this will take just a few seconds. Thankfully, internet is working well today. And let's get started. npm start. Okay, yes, I'll run other board because I want to keep that presentation there. Okay, so there it is. We've got our React application up and running. So let's do a little bit of cleanup right now. We'll just, what I'll do now is that I'll just create two different routes, just a basic template application. So first of all, I don't need any of that CSS, but I'll keep the CSS file. In here, I won't be using that logo. I'll keep the CSS again, though. Let's remove all of this in here. We'll just create one div with hello for now, just so that we have something on the screen. And there it is, hello right there. We can remove that logo because we're not using it. And I think that's like the basic essentials. We've got all we need right now. So let's install our router. Or actually, let's install the router for now. So import browser router. And I see that my camera just died on me. That's odd. So why don't I guess we'll have to do without a camera for now. Maybe it'll recharge. I'll just plug it in here for now. And that's part of my new setup, which is which is not successful apparently. So for now, that's fine. We don't need a camera. So let's just install browser router as, oops, do I still have this? All right, as router, we will need switch, and we will need route. From React router DOM. There it is. All right, so I'm sorry, this really threw me off. Okay, so we've got this import browser router, all good. So now our web page will have, instead we will create a router. We will do a switch. We will create our first, not router, but route. Switch, route, exact path equals / and it will be for a component. We'll call it home. We'll create that in a minute, and then route path / about component equals about. Apparently us Canadians tend to say a boot. Let's also create those two components now. So pages, and we will create our home page, home.js. And in here, we will have import React component from React. So far, so good. And we will do an export default class home extends a component. All right, so far, all some standard boilerplate React application. So in here, we will return a single div. It'll say homepage. And let's actually just copy all of this and create our second component, about. And there it is. And let's just change the text here, about. And let's go back to app, import home from pages / home. And missing an O here, and import about from pages / about. All right, I think I'm pointing at the camera, not that it matters at this point. Okay, so import home, everything looks good. There you go. So now we've got our home page. If I switch to / about, I've got my about page. All right, time to actually jump into some Patternfly stuff now. I'm just looking to see if my camera is charging. Please bear with me 1 second and might be able to do something in a few minutes. Is this actually charging? I think it is. All right, moving on. So we've got our homepage. That's good. And where was I? Let's do some Patternfly stuff is what I said. Yes. So open up our browser, patternfly.org. Like I said, this is where you'll find all the information that you need about Patternfly. So I've shown you some of the guidelines already earlier. You've got stuff like your variables, CSS variables, and we'll actually come back and we'll change those in a few minutes. We also have the demos. I've mentioned those, so you can see it in action. So you can kind of see like a whole application. So why don't we start with that? That's actually a great way to start our application. And you can kind of see a lot of different templates, but I'll just go with the first one. And we'll just clean this up to have like the basic minimum that we need. So I can just copy this over. I can go back to my source code. I'll create a components folder, components, and I'll just create a layout file. So that will be like my main layout that I'll use in my other pages. So why don't I go ahead and just copy this, all of it. And there's like 500 lines of code, but we'll strip it down. We'll just keep the basic minimum in just a few seconds because there's way too much stuff to try to explain what's going on in here. And now in my home page, I'll import that layout. Import layout from components, nope, 2 dots, components / layout. Okay, and now I will just put in my layout here so I can potentially see it. Okay, so there it is. So it does not contain a default export, so we can fix that. That's an easy fix. Export default class. There you go. That should make you happy. Now we still have a few errors. So before I try to fix those errors and try to put everything in place, let me just clean a little bit of this. So basically what I want to keep is just the navigation and the basic navigation. So I'll go all the way to the bottom into the render function. This is my return, so I'll have my page so I'll return a full page. So that is what I need for my layout, right? It's my complete page. We'll keep a header. We'll keep the sidebar. We can remove this, this, and this, and we'll just keep that main container ID. That's fine. Now it'll use, so you'll have one page, which will be your full web page, and then you'll have page sections. Page sections are just different sections on your page. So that's what we'll use here. And then you have text contents, which are a component just to display a block of text. In here, we'll have our main title, and then we'll have a paragraph. So you can use the text block just to put in some different text. Components can take multiple forms. If you have VS Code, it'll actually give you all the different options that you can use here. So let's keep that first page section. It is just a title, and then we will have a small divider, so we can use dividers as well. And then we'll have a second page section. Let's remove that drawer. In the second section, we'll just have a hello. Okay, so now is the time to clean everything up. All of this data list is not used anymore, so that'll be a big chunk that we can remove right away. Let's just go all the way for content drawer and remove that. Boom. All right, there goes 200 lines of code. Panel content, not using anymore. Toolbar items, not using. And toggle group, page breadcrumb, not using. Skip to content, not using. The sidebar we are using. The header we are using will actually need a logo. Let's remove the avatar. There it goes. And show the navigation toggle, that's the hamburger icon, so we'll want to keep that one. I do have the logo somewhere. Let me just give me 1 second if I can find it. Where did I put it? I'm sure it's here somewhere, not too far. I've got Patternfly. As part of my presentation, I have actually used it here. And yeah. Okay, so let me copy this and back into my source. I'll create a new folder for my assets and I'll paste it in here. Did that work? No. Let's try a good old drag and drop. There it is. Boom. All right, there's my logo. Now I'll just go back to the, oh, not to this file, but back to my layout. We'll go to the top. Let's just remember I'm at 255 for now. And we'll import that image. So import, actually that, is there already? No, there's no import. So let's import image brand from assets assets pf4-logo.svg. All right. Okay, so back to line 255 now. Let's continue our cleaning up. And okay, so the header we're using, the page toolbar. Are we using that? I don't think so. I don't think so. Let's remove that. Drop-down items, not using. Keyboard drop-down, not using. The navigation we are using. So let's keep the navigation here. And in the state, we'll keep the active item. We can remove everything else. And remove this. And now all of our methods we are not using because there's pretty much nothing going on in the page. So let's just remove all of this as well. And more and more and more. And back to the state, original state of the application. We'll just keep the active item. And we can remove this. Keep 0 for now. And now let's just clean up everything that is not used. I love VS Code because it really shows you like everything that is not used very easily. You can just remove them. So let's clean this up, clean. I love starting with a nice clean code base. So just leaving all of those dangling components just bugs me. We'll keep the divider. We'll remove all of our tool group and pretty much everything except for brand. And let's see if we have an application. All right, page toolbar not defined. All right, I don't think I was actually using page toolbar, so we can remove page toolbar. Yeah, let's just remove it. Boom. There you go. So we've got our Patternfly application. Kind of, not quite. It is getting there, I guess. But what we're missing here is actually our sorry, still messing around with my camera, so I'll have it when we're back later on. Missing some CSS, missing some styling. So that's the whole purpose of using Patternfly, right? So why don't I go back into app, and I will import. And now you'll have to bear with me because I can never remember. I think it's patternfly/patternfly/patternfly.css. So let's test this out and go back to our application. There it is. So we've got our application, full app, fully styled. Everything looks good. Everything looks great, actually. Apart from this text, which is a little bit on the side, that's because we're not using a text block here. So we can fix that. Yeah, so far so good. But there's this home page at the bottom. We actually want that to be part of the page, right? So we'll just tweak everything just to make sure that we can actually use that layout in multiple places. And we'll keep a title, and then we'll put the content of the page right here somewhere. So let's actually go and do that, and then we'll be all set for our application. So in here, I'll keep the title, and just for kicks, I'll use this.props.title in here, so I can actually pass in the title as a property. We'll remove this text block, and we'll keep a page section. Actually, let's remove the page section altogether. And we'll just use this props.children in here. So that's how you do a layout. So basically, I'll just take all the content that is inside of the layout element and just display it here. So now I can go back to my home page. And I will change this to have a closing tag /layout. Now I can go back to my application, reload it. There it is. And we've got homepage right there. We can also add title equals home, and we should now have a H1 that says home. Perfect. We're definitely getting there. Now, I've removed some of the elements, so we always need page sections. So I'll start with our page section. Page section. We'll also use some page section variants. So that can help us change the background and different things. We'll have a text content and a text, and all of that from, there it is, from Patternfly React Core. Okay, so now that we've got our layout, we will have a page section, and it will use variant equals page section variants dot which one? Let's use dark. All right, then we'll have a text content. We'll have a text component equals p, because we'll want to write a paragraph of text, and then we'll say hello world. Okay, so now this is our page. Let's make sure that this actually refreshes. There it is. So you now have your page, and you can see now that because I've used the page section here, and I've told it to use the dark variant, the text automatically is changed to white, and so on. If I would have used a different variant, say light, let's see what it looks like, and you have it here. So now it's black text on white. Okay. Now there's another really cool thing that you can do. Let's take a look at our navigation bar. So I'll go into components, and navigation is somewhere in here, navigation, and let's go to our CSS variables section. And in our navigation, we can see here that there's this blue line here, and I want to use the codegen colors. So I'll go to here, and I can see that there's this CSS class here called, link current after border color. So that looks like the color that I want to change. And current after. So let's actually expand on this and see what it's using. So we can see that it's using a global variable called PF global active color 100. So that's good. So we can go, I'll just copy this over because I won't remember it. But I can go back to my app.css file here. Let's make sure we have this open right here. And I can create some root elements as well, so some CSS variables as well. So I'll create a codegen color primary. And now I need to find, I have it in an email somewhere. Just give me 1 second. Please bear with me while I find those colors. Where did I put them? Right here, sorry. Got my CSS here. Okay. So this is my primary color. So it's the pink codegen. Codegen. All right. And there's also a secondary color that we can use. So secondary, and it's right here somewhere. And let's put it there. Perfect. So now we've got our two colors. They're defined as global variables. So I can now go and actually try to override our applications. So in my .app class, which is the top, oops, it's not there anymore. I'm not sure if I can put it to our router. Let's actually try this. If not, I'll need to add a div, but yeah, might as well try it. What I'll do is that my, I've lost my variable that I wanted to override. That's the one. And I'll just go in here and I'll say, for this color, use codegen primary. Okay, so now it should override, and yeah, it should override the color. Now, it doesn't seem like it's working, which is fine, I wasn't sure if this would work, so let's just add a wrapping div here. And we'll put this at the end, right here. And we'll move our class into this div. That should work now. Okay, so it's still not picking up our change here. I think the order, that always confuses me. I think the order in which they're defined in React is the opposite of what it should be. Nope, still no luck. All right, this is not going as I intended. So let's see if I can actually figure out what's going on here. So I've got my app.js. It has a div class name app. That should work. I've got my app, and then I import my CSS. And let's go to our app.css, app.css. And oh, that's because it's active color 100. It's actually active color 400 that I need to change. There it is. So you can see now that I've overrode this color. So all of my main primary color will be 400 now. There's also a bunch of different colors that we can use to override all the default main colors. So let me just add all of them. So all the primary colors, and they're all defined in the design guidelines colors. So PF global primary color 100, 200, and so on. So I've changed them. 1 to 400, 100 to 300. I've used the main or primary. Primary is what I should use. Primary. And for the other 3 or 4, I've used secondary. So now whenever I'm going to add an element, it's actually going to use those colors. So I can go in about. Let's change about to use the same type of layout, right? So I'll just copy this over and all of this and paste this in my about page. And now I have, shouldn't change anything here. Oh, right. It's just complaining because I'm missing those imports. Go back to about, import all of those. About, hey, there it is. So now if I navigate to /about, layout is not defined. That's because I forgot to import it. Import layout from component /layout. There it is. That should work. There we go. So now we've got our about page. All right. Now in my about page, if I want to add something like a button, let's import the button, and we'll say button variant equals primary. I could also import button variants if I wanted. So let's actually do that. Button variant dot, and it's automatically imported dot primary. Test. Okay. And now we've got this one. The color override didn't seem to work here. I'll need to actually dig into that in just a few seconds. But that kind of gives you the basic building blocks. And if you want to add anything inside any component inside your application, you can go in here, find something that you want to add. So you want to add a new badge. Well, just open up the JSX, and you've got import badge, and then the actual syntax. So we can actually put in a badge here. So let's just go in here, import badge, and just put it right here after the about. And let's take a look, and we've got it right there. If we want to add just about anything. So it kind of works with similar to Bootstrap, but I really like the fact that it has those little JSX syntax, and it provides you with all of it. You can just copy it and just paste it over. If you want to experiment with some of those different elements, you can actually open up a code sandbox. And it gives you the working example. So you can actually see all of that examples. Now you can see all of those little badges. Let's remove the ESRead to see what it actually looks like. And you can see that, it changed the colors. So you can play with those. You can play with those different elements. And that can be very, very useful to experiment and understand the various building blocks that are there with Patternfly. All right, let's see if this will actually come back to life. If not, There you go. So if it doesn't come back to life, that's fine. I'll just switch over to my slides anyways. Where are my slides now? I know they're somewhere right here, around here. React app, there it is. All right, so where does that put us? So yeah, so Patternfly versus Bootstrap. So let me just give me 1 second here. Oh, trackpad is upside down, which is why I'm having a hard time. And let's see if I can get this back and running. And nope, no, it absolutely refuses to to work with me today. So let's go back to the actual presentation. There it is. And I'm terribly sorry about not being here anymore. But Patternfly versus Bootstrap, well, you've seen how they can both be used in very similar ways. As a matter of fact, Patternfly was built on top of Bootstrap, basically. So it was built by this team at Red Hat that wanted to have this standard look and feel for all of their applications. But all of the projects and a lot of open source projects were already using Bootstrap. So it made a lot of sense to kind of build on the foundation that was already established by Bootstrap. But really what it adds is all of those design guidelines. And I haven't shown you some of this stuff, but I was hoping to build a list of elements. And if you're not sure what to use, say you want to use maybe cards, so we can take a look at the examples. All right, so that kind of looks like what I want. We can see some demos, so maybe that's what I want. So you can go into the design guidelines and take a look at what a card is and how it's built. So we can see here it has different elements, and you can see information about usage, which is where I wanted to go. And you can see here that it says, well, do not use a card to show a dense amount of repetitive related content. Use a list or a table view instead. So, okay, then that's fine. So we can go to tables and try to take a look at the design guidelines for tables. You can see information about usage, which one you should use. So when you want to show as much data per page as possible, so that's maybe what you want. So then you know that you want to build a compact table. So really, it helps you to guide you and make the good choices for building your application. So that's really what it brings on the table that Bootstrap doesn't help you with. So in summary, you can design your things. So just take a demo, start from there, lay everything out so you've got your whole layout that is available for you, and then just build it your way. Just add those components, take those JSS examples and just add them to your page. More resources, you can join the community. There's a link, and once again, I'll share all those links into one big link at the end. So join the community. There's a Slack channel. There's a bunch of different things. You can find all the information on patternfly.org as well. There's a GitHub Patternfly tutorial that is available to you as well, and some Katacoda scenarios. If you're not familiar with Katacoda, those are really cool. It's really little scenarios that you can test out. You can start the course and really, the building blocks of Patternfly and just go and do those little scenarios. So that should take 20 minutes to do, and it really brings you step by step and brings you to this whole application. Yep, let's leave this. So that's kind of all I had today. So thank you very much for attending. Easy URL to /Patternfly is the one link where I'll share all of the information. I'm terribly sorry that I've had some technical issues along the way. So sorry about that. But still, I think we've managed to get most of the content out, apart that weird little Sony logo in the bottom, imaging software in the bottom. So that's it for me. So thank you very much. I'll stick around to answer any questions if there are any. And don't forget, if you have any questions, comment, feedback, feel free to use Twitter, Joel__Lord. Thank you very much.